Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another episode of Waz Reviews. And today, we're talking Star Trek Legacy. I mean, it has been the talk of the Star Trek fandom. It's even a continuation of Picard's tenure in Star Trek. Why wouldn't I talk about it? Wait, you thought I was talking about a new Star Trek show? Oh no. I'm talking about the 2006 Xbox 360 game, Star Trek Legacy. Back in 2006, Bethesda released a game for the Xbox 360 called Star Trek Legacy. It's another Star Trek space battle game, admittedly a genre of games that shows up a little too often in Star Trek. I want to go on away team missions, dang it! But it features not one, not two, but all 5 of the main Star Trek captains at the time. That's right, Scott Bakula, William Shatner, Patrick Stewart, Avery Brooks, and Kate Mulgrew all return as Captains Archer, Kirk, Picard, Cisco, and Janeway, which was a big reason why I wanted to get this game in the first place. Get ready to boldly go with a story that spans multiple generations. We're looking at the very first Star Trek Legacy. Start up Star Trek Legacy, and you have the option to do campaign or story mode, skirmish or custom match, and multiplayer, which I didn't try out. Skirmish mode allows you to do a deathmatch between teams or fight off waves of enemies with some allies. So if you always wanted to fight off the Borg at DS9 as Captain Sisko in the little ship that could, the Defiant, you totally can. Would have been nice if it was a Dominion War map, but I'll take it just for the opportunity to see DS9 again.
Defiant ready.
Most of the game takes place in campaign mode, with a single story that takes place over 3 eras of Star Trek, just a little over 200 years. Quite an undertaking. Unfortunately, you can only have one save at a time, which is a disappointment. I can accept that for Sega Genesis games or even N64 games, but an Xbox 360 game? Come on. The game starts in the Enterprise era in about the mid-2100s with Captain Archer. This is probably the closest we come to an Enterprise game, which is rather sad because other Star Trek games got video games, even Voyager. Nevertheless, it's great to hear Scott Bakula's voice again. Doesn't quite make up for the lack of Enterprise Season 5 or more Enterprise games, but it's still nice. The NX Enterprise has gotten some upgrades, specifically a brand spanking new tractor beam. You know, like the one a drunken Wesley would be playing around with like 200 years later. Ah, the technological advances will achieve.
Pretty soon you won't need my little ship anymore.
Captain Archer is sent out on a mission to investigate the disappearance of a Vulcan ship, and he's less than thrilled about it.
Vulcans? Come on, Reggie, we both know how these things turn out. The Vulcans have ships, why do they need ours?
Well, blah blah blah, Archer has more experience dealing with Vulcans, and something something something, he's got more combat experience, and I don't know, it'll make the Vulcans happy and get Starfleet off on the right foot or something. So let's send the same Archer that gets mugged by every hitchhiker he picks up. It's gonna be one of those days.
I don't want to get blindsided by lack of information from them, as usual. Missions involving Vulcans usually mean one thing: trouble.
When each mission starts, you get a nice little screen where you can read the mission objectives, the briefing, and any hints to help you along the way. While it's nice to see the Enterprise era in a video game, unfortunately, as the first part in this game's timeline, most of the Enterprise missions are tutorials. I guess this is a pretty good time to talk about the game's controls and gameplay. They're not the greatest. I'm more used to games like the Star Wars Rogue Squadron series where you can make quick turns and fly smoothly and freely. Obviously, a starship is a lot bigger than X-Wing fighters, but man, it's like handling a truck. Besides that, you can do most of the stuff you see the various Starfleet crews do in the shows. Go to Impulse, go to Warp, fire phasers and torpedoes, send power to the shields, weapons, or engines, and repair the various ship's systems. These systems will take time to repair, so if my ship is hanging by a thread mid-battle, I like to warp away and work on repairs. However, make sure your ship is far enough away because if you happen to select another ship in your fleet, your broken ship will try to hobble its way back into battle just to blow up. That's right, you can control multiple ships in this game for your fleet. A rather small fleet, to be sure, made up of the main ship that features one of the captains from the shows and 3 other ships. You can choose what ship to control using the directional pad, and they control pretty much the same way, though some ships have special abilities. You can also add ships to your fleet in between missions, purchasing them with command points earned from the missions. The better stats on the ship, the more command points it'll cost. Your surviving ships will roll over to the next mission, even across different eras, meaning you'll want to sell your older ships to buy better ones. You'll want to be careful not to allow too many of your ships to blow up during the missions, otherwise you won't be able to sell them and buy that fine-looking Defiant class ship later on. Alright, let's get back to the story. Archer rescues the Vulcan ship Celea, manned by a Vulcan scientist named Tyrell, from a Romulan attack. Apparently, the Vulcans sent Archer to find Tyrell because they don't approve of her research. Which I'm sure Archer just loved the Vulcans keeping even more secrets.
I don't want to get blindsided by lack of information from them, as usual.
Archer, of course, wants to know what Tyrell's up to, and she's all, just follow me to my research outpost. Archer's like, "'Kay." See, this is the same kind of baloney that always got the Enterprise mugged on the show. Of course, the Romulans found the research outpost anyway, meaning our fleet has to repel multiple waves of Romulan fleets while Tyrell's team evacuates. Which I failed on the first attempt. Oops. Actually, this would have saved everyone a lot of headaches for the next 200 years. I should be lauded as a hero for my incompetence. Thank you. During the battle, Archer checks in on Tyrell about how much longer she's gonna be on account that the Romulans keep attacking us, and Tyrell always needs more time.
Tyrell, what is going on in there?
Some of the toxic gas spilled into the command module.
Enterprise to Commander Tyrell, how is the evacuation coming?
It goes well, Captain.
Tyrell, what's going on in there? Respond.
Oh, yeah, that's a good sign. And of course she would decide to bolt. Well, isn't that just par for the course? I swear, every time Archer decides to help a hitchhiker out of the goodness of his heart and gets involved in shirtless lacrosse, he gets held hostage by terrorists. Why should this be any different?
I knew I didn't like that woman. Vulcans. Secretive and deceitful. I should have learned from the Andorians.
This, I'm not a fan of. As someone who enjoyed Enterprise, does this sound like Captain Archer? Yes. From Season 1? See, one of the things I liked about Enterprise was the development of the relationship between Vulcans and humans. They're distrustful of each other at the beginning, but as the show goes on, they come to mutually understand each other. Heck, Archer overcomes a lot of his prejudice against the Vulcans, and he and his first officer T'Pol grow to be friends. This game is supposed to take place after Season 4. This just comes across as Archer reverting to Season 1 Archer, not developing further after Season 4.
Now where's the logic in that?
Archer is then sent on a little side quest to help stop the spread of an unknown plague being spread by Romulan transport ships. He manages to stop the plague from spreading to Earth, but unfortunately other systems have been infected. He can't figure out why the Romulans would do something like this and suspects Tyrell is involved as the Enterprise missions come to a close.
And for my part, I want the Vulcans to answer some questions about what this Tyrell was really doing out here, and why they wanted her back so badly.
Fast forward about 100 years around the time of the original series, and Captain Kirk is commanding the USS Enterprise, fighting Klingons and...
Our conflict with the Klingons has escalated.
Yeah, William Shatner's voice is older. I can't fault him for that, though, because I'd rather have Captain Kirk himself, even an older-sounding Captain Kirk, rather than a sound-alike. Apparently, the Romulan cloaking device Kirk and Spock stole from the sexy Romulan lady proved to be kinda disappointing, so Kirk is ordered to snatch an experimental Klingon bird of prey, and... oh man, is towing that bird of prey slow!
The Klingon vessel is in tow, but it's slow going.
That's a fine Shatner delivery right there.
Our mission is a success.
Kirk is given command of the bird of prey to infiltrate Klingon space to gather information. Not entirely sure how well that would work with Star Treks 3 and 4 at this point in time, but I'll let it slide. And, of course, what would a covert mission be without a cloaking device? When it works, of course.
We've been detected. Their destroyers must be equipped with sensors that can penetrate the cloak.
A Vulcan! I wonder who that could be!
You are Vulcan. No such fire burns in your blood.
You have seen the nature of my resolve in our first encounter.
Kirk also uncovers a weapons platform the Klingons have been working on, and Starfleet orders an attack on it.
It will be a tough nut to crack.
Additionally, Kirk finds out that the Vulcan ship he encountered during his covert mission was commanded by Tyrell. Apparently, she's the one that designed the Klingon weapons platform in a trade agreement with the Klingons.
Again with the Klingons.
We've taken away their new toy.
With the destruction of the weapons platform, Kirk's search for Tyrell begins. For the next 20 years.
Target that ship before we lose it. We've lost Tyrell.
Apparently, Kirk spent the years after the original series and all through the movies looking for Tyrell and never brought it up to anyone.
I had considered retiring this coming year to finally let go of this duty and obligation. But now, with her return, this is something I just can't let go.
I didn't mean to interrupt your little quest. Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
Yeah, this is a complaint I have with the story. It's kinda shoehorned into an already established timeline, which feels even more forced because it takes place over such a long period of time. I mean, it's nothing canon-breaking, and I can buy that there's a couple hundred-year-old Vulcan running around. But as someone who watches a lot of Star Trek, I couldn't help but think while playing this game, so why didn't anyone mention any of this during the shows or movies? Think about it. Kirk spent like 20 years of his career looking for Tyrell, and it never came up during the movies?
Illogical! Illogical! Illogical!
But either way, Tyrell is back and hanging around a classified research facility.
I made certain inquiries. I can't get a firm answer from Starfleet Command on the research Dr. Cataract is conducting at this facility. But if Tyrell's interested in what he's doing, it can't be good.
Seems legit. Let's do this.
What in the name of...
Okay, I'm supposed to buy that Kirk fought the Borg and never mentioned it? I know Star Trek First Contact and also Enterprise made the timeline a little blurry when it comes to initial contact with the Borg. First Contact was originally in Season 2 of Next Gen, but time shenanigans and the Borg are on Earth before First Contact was made with the Vulcans. But this is a lot to buy.
All ships, get out of here. Maximum warp. That ship is going critical. I've submitted my official report to Starfleet concerning the Cataract incident. After learning of his Omega particle research, I suggested that the details be sealed and steps taken to assure this never happens again.
Well, I guess that kinda explains it, but I still don't feel good about any of this. Kirk should have mentioned Tyrell at some point before all of this happened.
Sometimes the arrogance of man is what gets us into so much trouble. Hopefully, the next generation will be better.
Well, I know where this is going.
Engage!
With the mention of one of the coolest Star Trek planet names,
The London Core.
we shift about 60 years later to Jean-Luc Picard getting a sudden promotion on the Stargazer after the appearance of one Vulcan ship.
What are we going to do, Jean-Luc?
I'm taking command. Bring us about.
And our first mission, cleaning up after a planet that just exploded.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
All of the stellar fragments have been destroyed. We've managed to avert a disaster, and you all have done splendid work here. Well done.
Okay, we got that taken care of, but now for another familiar voice.
Acting Captain's Log, Stardate 45252.6.
That's right, Cisco and the Defiant. A welcome sight. Well, after running some tests on the Defiant, the Romulans capture Cisco, accusing the Federation of sicking some Vulcan on them and causing havoc. So it's up to Picard to rescue the future emissary from a Romulan station.
I'm Lieutenant Commander Benjamin Sisko.
Wait, when does this mission take place? Oh. Well, that's super awkward.
We can't drop our shield to beam you aboard until we've destroyed our attackers.
No need, Captain. We'll beam to the Defiant. We can't leave her behind for the Romulans.
Understood.
This conversation feels a little weird considering this is all happening after Wolf 359. I'm not talking about how there's no animosity between Picard and Cisco in this scene, though you could make the argument that Cisco doesn't have the time for animosity right now. But literally no mention of this rescue is made during Emissary when Picard and Cisco first come face to face.
We met before. I was on the Saratoga at Wolf 359.
Oh, and you rescued me from the Romulans. Thanks. Even more disappointing is that this is the only mission with Cisco, and it's a pre-DS9 Cisco. Still cool that we get to hear Avery Brooks' voice, but disappointing we don't get to see more of the Defiant. The story jumps forward once again, this time to Picard serving on a post-Nemesis Enterprise, mentioning the departure of Riker and Troy to the Titan and Data's death. He muses about his career a little bit, but hopes that this next mission won't be his last. A mission that he might have caused by letting one particular Vulcan ship go.
I see the Federation's official delegation has arrived.
Oh, who could have guessed Tyrell has been assimilated? I am shocked. Well, Starfleet is sending the big guns to this meeting, Captain Picard and Admiral Janeway.
I am Admiral Janeway.
I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Locutus.
Forgive me, madam, but that is not my name.
Coming soon, Picards New Book. I am not Locutus. Basically, if the modulated voice, or the fact that she kept going on and on about perfection and Omega...
On the road to perfection.
I saw perfection.
Omega now belongs to me.
I have found a way to control Omega.
I don't care if you can make it sing and dance. We're getting rid of it.
Or that her ship is glowing Borg Green, weren't dead giveaways. Tyrell has been assimilated and has her own Borg collective. Only she's looking to wipe out all illogic in the galaxy. Yeah, good luck with that one. Picard tries to reach Tyrell to let go of the collective, but...
There is no true Vulcan left within her.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
After saving some refugee ships, it's time for a good old-fashioned Borg battle. Oh, hell no! You are not attacking DS9!
Have successfully lured the other elements of her Borg forces to this more defensible position above Bajor.
No. Not Bajor. Bajor. Alright, it's time to pull out the big guns. A Defiant-class ship. And let me tell you, this thing handles pretty sweet. I complain about the other ships being clunky and hard to turn, but the Defiant? Look at those smooth turns. Look at that fire. Launch those torpedoes.
Evasive maneuvers! Fire phasers! Launch torpedoes! And escape pods!
It even looks pretty sweet going to warp. We gather the Klingons and Romulans to fight against Tyrell. The Romulans because she's been on their back for about 2 centuries, and the Klingons because they're always looking for a fight. Kinda sad that we don't get to fight near DS9, the wormhole could have made an interesting anomaly for the battle. The logical conclusion is that there's a big space battle to end the game. Tyrell is hiding out in a little anomaly and she's using transwarp conduits to bring in reinforcements, including a Borg tactical cube. Obviously, my favorite battling ship is the Defiant, which has great weapons for this kind of situation.
The cube has been destroyed.
Of course, I, in the middle of the battle, have to tractor over a couple of Dominion-inspired sensor pods to get Tyrell to come out of her shell.
Never a dull moment with you, Captain. You sure know how to show a lady a good time.
You said it yourself, Admiral. I get all the easy assignments.
Alright, this is it!
Let's show this how we do things downtown.
The battle is over, and Picard has a nice speech, in true Picard fashion, of course. He feels responsible for what has happened, even though it's still technically Archer's fault for not hauling Tyrell's in right away. Picard is still very much haunted by the Borg, and he reveals something about Tyrell's demise.
I could hear Tyrell in her final moments calling out to me. Whether it was the Vulcan or Borg in my mind, I wonder which we destroyed and which one was set free.
And that's Star Trek Legacy. Is it the best Star Trek game ever? No, the ship handling takes some getting used to, and even when you get used to it, it still feels kinda clunky. This story is a tad shoehorned into the timeline and asks you to buy some details that just don't feel right. Captain Kirk fighting the Borg? Really? But at the same time, it's not a bad story, and I find the idea of a Vulcan-Borg collective interesting. Maybe it would have been more profound as an away team kind of game to really explore both the Vulcan and Borg as cultures, but it works alright here. It's great hearing all the Star Trek captains' voices again, although I wish we could have played as Cisco and Janeway for some of the missions. I assumed with all 5 captains coming back that we'd have missions where we could play as each of them. This is very much an Archer, Kirk, Picard game. It's also criminal that we only got one Cisco mission. I know he already joined the Prophets when the showdown with Tyrell happened, but he had a bone to pick with the Borg. The game looks amazing, and the music has an epic feel to it. It feels very much like it belongs in Star Trek. It might not be the greatest of Star Trek games, but I had a good time with it. If you have a working Xbox 360 or happen upon the PC version of this game, this one is worth checking out. So what do you think? Did you play Star Trek Legacy? Did you love it? Did you hate it? How did you feel when you heard all 5 captains were coming back? And what are some of your favorite Star Trek games? Please, leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Waz Reviews. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time...
Mr. Worf. Fire.